Those in the gallery and those streaming. Our meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Gunditj, Chamara, Tapwarong, Jadwa, Jarlee and Buundig people. I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present. Please note all council meetings will be audio recorded and may be live streamed to council's social media platform, with the exception of matters identified as confidential items in the agenda. By participating in open council meetings, individuals consent to the use and disclosure of the information they share at the meeting, including any personal and or sensitive information. Other than an official council recording, no video or audio recording of proceedings of council meetings will be allowed without the permission of council. Item 3, Councillor Calvano will read the prayer.
Almighty God, grant this council wisdom, understanding and sincerity of purpose for the good governance of this Shire.
Amen.
Item 4, there's no apologies. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes of the council meeting held on 13 August 2025 be confirmed as a correct record of business transacted. Mover Councillor Rainsford, seconder Councillor Calvano. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, declaration of interest. Councillor Henry.
I'd just like to declare an interest in item 12.3, please.
Thank you. Item 7, there's no leave of absence. Item 8, questions on notice. Dr. Tamison Ramsey. Just.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
Welcome. Dr. Tamison Ramsey has a question. It's in relation to a nature covenant where other councils offering rate rebates or discounts. The question is, will our council introduce a similar rebate or rate relief scheme for Trust for Nature covenant holders in this municipality? Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thanks, Tamsin, for your question. Council is aware of the environmental benefits of Trust for Nature covenants, but we're called, I knew I'd stumble that one, that's the one, cognizant of some legislative hurdles as well as equity issues that we might have around introducing that. So council did adopt their 4-year rating strategy just recently. We do that each time a new council comes on board. But this strategy is reviewed every year when we do our budget. So what we ask you to do is to put a submission in as part of our budget process around wanting to change and acknowledge the covenants, and council will look at that submission as part of the budget process.
Okay, thank you.
Item 8.2, Jenny Rankin had 2 questions. Jenny Rankin's not with us this evening. Her questions and responses will both be recorded in the minutes and also directly to Jenny by writing, in writing. Item 9, there's no public deputation. Item 10, there's no petition. Item 11, informal meetings of councillors. Informal meeting of councillors was recorded for a briefing session on 6 August 25, 13 August 25 and 27 August 25. Item 12.1, Business Facade Improvement Program. Director Neeson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the Business Facade Improvement Program. So this program aims to have businesses throughout our Shire complete improvements to their facades of their buildings in the CBD or the main streets of our 10 towns in the Shire. Following on from a really successful first year of the program, businesses were again able to apply on a dollar-for-dollar basis to complete improvements, with this amount capped at $3,000 per business. To apply for funding, businesses did need to meet with relevant staff, go through an application form and provide all the relevant documentation that we request. And then following this, an assessment process occurs where 24 applicants were recommended for funding from a variety of towns across the Shire. I should all just mention that as part of the program, to try and again make this easier for businesses, we also waive planning fees as part of that. So another just incentive to get businesses to be reinvesting in their shop fronts, which is something we have heard from all of our towns of something they'd like to see. So it's really great to be in the second year of this program. Council's recommendations have been brought before you for your consideration.
Remover, Councillor Calvano. Just
Nothing to say, Mr Mayor.
no, I just read the recommendation.
Yeah. Well, the recommendation as written, Mr Mayor, as written, the council notes $58,978, including GST, of business facade improvement program grants will be approved under delegation.
Yeah, just to correct you there, it's excluding GST.
Oh,
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Neeson? Go straight, yes, Councillor Matt.
My question is, it's noted that this program came about after the small towns strategy, but we've only got 4 out of our 24 applicants in this round that actually come from small towns participating. Is there anything else that we can do in small towns for disused shop fronts at all, in addition to this?
Thank you, through Mr Mayor. This is seen as something that's, I suppose, a quick win. There are a variety of things that council could explore to encourage, we'll say, property owners in our CBDs to do more. Things around vacant land, tax, etc., sort of thing that some councils have looked at. It's probably not something we've done. We've tried to use a bit more of the carrot approach with this, in terms of not going to fine you, but more encouraging you to do the right thing. But it is something we could explore further. I should just note too, last round there were a few other towns that didn't get any this time that were able to get funding. So it's probably, this round is not as many. Last time we did see a few others as well. But I should just add, we're always keen for more promotion of this. This is the second year of this program. Again, you see this program work at other councils where sometimes 4 or 5 years is what you need to actually get more people to see what businesses are able to do, to go, oh, hang on, no, that's a really good investment, and council actually going 50-50 with me to fund those improvements. So hopefully that answers your question. Yeah.
Any further questions? Any discussion? Councillor Camp.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that through liaising with a few of these people that have been approved of the facade, I think it's fantastic, because there were a couple of people that have been knocked back previously, but the hats off to the council that have obviously kept this program open, but educated people on the best way to move forward and to be able to get tick of approval. So I just want to say well done to the council, and it's a great result.
Just move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.2, draft Coleraine and Cavendish structure plans. Director Neeson.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Just like to present this report on the release of the draft Coleraine and Cavendish structure plans. So council has been preparing structure plans for Cavendish and Coleraine as part of its broader commitment around the future of our small towns. Community engagement has been really central in the development of these plans. So we did some sessions back in March with the communities that was really to try and understand their priorities for the town. And then from this, and I think that's what really excites me with seeing these draft plans, you can actually see a real priority list of projects for these communities included as part of that, as well as looking at different things around the rezoning. So I think that's a really important part of that. So in the town, in the draft plans, we'll see some really key directions that include looking at settlement boundaries, which I think is something that we heard loud and clear from towns that they wanted explored through this process. Supporting, I suppose, modest infill, so looking at some of the vacant blocks that are there and trying to work out how we can better enable housing to occur. This is really important around revitalising the main streets and seeing activation and improvement to the public realm. And I think that's something we want to do in all of our towns, so it was great to see those come through. Strengthening the walking and cycling links between these two towns, I think that's really great to see as well too, and even picking up some projects that council's already working through in some of those towns in changing those connections throughout there. Obviously managing the bushfire and flood risks, they are things that are really important with both these towns being right on rivers, etc. as well. And then just better aligning the zoning with the land use and character of these towns. So I think that a lot of work's gone into it, but now we need to make sure that we're testing that and getting it back to the community to make sure they feel like they've been heard. So following the decision tonight, we'll be looking to complete that engagement over the next 28 days. We would then bring back the finalised plans for council for adoption. So council, the recommendation's been brought before you for your consideration.
Move a Councillor Rainsford.
I'd like to move that 1, endorse the draft structure plans for formal public exhibition for a minimum period of 28 days. During this exhibition phase, residents, landowners and key stakeholders will be invited to review the proposed directions and actions and provide feedback. Secondly, consider all submissions and feedback following the exhibition period. The plans will be refined to reflect community insights, stakeholder priorities and any necessary technical adjustments during September-October 2025. And thirdly, prepare a final report incorporating the revised structure plans informed by community and stakeholder feedback received during the exhibition period. The report will include a written summary of engagement outcomes and be presented to Council for consideration of adoption at a future Council meeting. I recommend the motion to Council.
Seconder, Councillor Campbell. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Director Neeson, just a query, and correct me if I'm wrong, this may have happened before I was a councillor, but is there going to be structure plans for the remaining small towns in our Shire?
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So I think that's something that's definitely an outcome of the small town strategy, that not all of the towns in our Shire, but there are some towns that do need this looked at. Some examples is we already have structure plans for Dunkeld, Hamilton and Tarrington. There's a recommendation to look at Penshurst next, and the reason why that wasn't included yet was because of the wastewater trial that was going on Wannon Water and the implications that that may have had if that proceeded, with that now not going forward. That is something that we as a team have definitely spoken about in terms of having a look at that. And there are probably some other towns we need to continue to look at and make sure that what is there is correct for 2025. So the short answer is yes, we know we need to do that. They are really large pieces of work, so it's probably just prioritising and working with you as councillors around allocating any future budget to it to allow those to occur.
Councillor Manning.
In the Cavendish plan, there was an action A6, which was to conduct an audit of existing on-site wastewater systems on existing properties in the township zone and assess performance and risk. I just wondered if you could explain what that's going to bring, what the process of that would be, and how that's going to help the structure plan.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So some of the constraints we have in towns that don't have connection to town sewage is wastewater. And it's even something that we're looking to explore through our domestic wastewater management plan that we're just about to start, that will come back to you. But the reason why we want to understand more in this is because if there's some smarter solutions or ways that we can increased development in some of these towns, it actually can lead to more housing and more population growth. So understanding it through an audit of the condition of some of these and whether they need replacement, whether there's better systems that are actually allow for, let's say, smaller housing lots to be able to be built. I think that's where it's trying to get to, noting that the wastewater plan is also another, I suppose, lever that we can pull to try and enable more development. That's what we want to do, but we are very prohibited with some of that because of the lot sizes that we need in some of our small towns to enable a septic system to be installed. So does that answer your question? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is in the medium term, so that's not something we're going to go and do tomorrow. That's sort of a bit of a, we'll do a new domestic wastewater plan first and then look at that as an action from there. Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Campbell.
Quick question, will Branksome be maybe looked at somewhere along the line in the future?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think all of our smaller towns would be something that are on the table. What we need to obviously understand as part of that, though, is the want and need, and that's something we can talk to you as councillors more about in terms of, are we experiencing a lot of inquiries for land? Are we seeing the need to be able to grow towns? Because ultimately, with any of these plans, even when we endorse these, we still have to get them approved by the state government, and there is a really strict criteria that we need to meet. But that doesn't mean we can't challenge the state government by saying, well, we want to look at these towns to grow, and these are the reasons why. So hopefully that answers your question, that by all means, Branksome is a town that we want to see grow within our Shire. It's putting it into the priorities of all the towns as well too, and enabling that work to occur.
Councillor Manning.
Another question for the Cavendish plan. One of the main zoning changes is from public park and recreation zone to public conservation and resource zone. Sorry. it's quite specific. What does this mean, and does it mean that the rezoning of those areas will have less public access? Can you answer that tonight, or might be a question on that? Yeah.
Thank you, through you. I might take that on notice. I think there'll be a really clear explanation as to why, noting that they're draft plans, and we can make sure that that response is provided as part of the consultation we're doing.
Yep.
I just wasn't sure exactly the number I don't want to answer it without getting the right facts for you.
Councillor Rainsford.
Mine was a quick question about the going out to the communities with this face-to-face. I think there's going to be a session within the next 28 days.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely, Councillor Rainsford. So I'm just looking, I think we've already got these sessions booked in, or at least they're in my calendar. So I reckon they're on the, I'm just bringing it up, we've got Coleraine on the 1st of October, and Cavendish, I think, is the week later on the 6th of October, which we'll be doing extensive communication about, hopefully following the release tonight.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Manning.
Sorry, one more. The bushfire risk report was completed in December 2024. Would there be any changes to that given our learnings from the recent Grampians fires? Would we need to do an update of that with new information?
Thank you, through you. My understanding is no, we wouldn't. That report would still be relevant. I can again just take that on notice to confirm, but my understanding is no, that would absolutely still be correct.
Councillor Rainsford, you wish to speak to the motion?
Oh, yeah, just be brief. I think they're a long time coming. Councillor Calvano and myself would realise that it's taken a while because it is an investment, these projects, to get them done. And I think there's a lot of scope here now to respond to the community's needs and their requests for development within the framework that they're happy for their townships, because they do value the township feel, their landscapes. I think that's probably come out of it. It'll be very empowering, and what will also empower them more is to have some money to be able to spend on the projects, and that's what we'll need to be working on to have an ability to fund some of these priority projects and have applications for grants to actually do some of these improvements. I congratulate the community for their input and their patience in particular. And just thinking I'll be talking later a bit more about the water supply around Cavendish in particular. These two towns have been flooded, more so seriously in Coleraine, which was very severe floods, and managing those floodwaters is the big issue. And we do have bushfire risks, and having some more water in the Wannon River would actually help some of their fire management and risk by not being totally dry during the summer, which has been, we've had 2 years of very low rainfall, and the Wannon River has been converted to just a trickle and a few ponds. So I think this is an excellent project. There's a lot in this, and I look forward to, I'll be an apology for those October meetings, rare holiday, but I'm sure that they'll be well attended and there'll be a lot of good feedback. Thank you.
Any discussion for Councillor Manning?
I found the draft plans, background reports, place vision, engagement summaries and associated assessments very thorough. It appears to satisfy the aims of providing a clear and coordinated strategy for township growth and development over the next 20 years, taking into account the needs and wants of the local communities. It sets out key themes, objectives, strategies and achievable actions sitting under these, coupled with specific measurements to assess progress and completion. I have only one suggestion. It was mentioned that there would be a review of these after they've been approved, a review in 5 years, and I wondered if it could be that there'd be a small annual review. When we did a lot of community consultation for the council plan this year, going around to the small towns, I found that there was a lot of people who felt they weren't updated on their community plans as frequently, and there wasn't a lot of communication in that respect. So I wonder if it would be helpful for those communities to have just a small update, maybe an extra column in a table saying this year, this is how we've progressed on these aims. But fantastic work, that would be my only suggestion.
Any further discussion? Councillor Rainsford, anything to close?
I'd just like to congratulate the consultants and their choice, the Village Well people and Myers Planning on their work combined with the staff. Thank you.
Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Item 12.3. For the purpose of the minutes, Councillor Henry is leaving the chamber. Item 12.3, Development Plan 356, Beverages. Oh, gee whiz. Beverage, that's funny. Beverages Road, Hamilton. Director Neeson.
Thank you. Through Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on an alternative development plan for 365 Beverages Road in Hamilton. So the plan is proposed for a portion of land within the Hensley Park Road residential precinct plan.
Sorry, Director Neeson, can you just confirm, is it 356 as I have?
Sorry, 356. Apologies, sorry, I'm reading that wrong. So 356 Beverages Road. Apologies. So the plan that is proposed for the portion of land is within the Hensley Park Road residential precinct plan as part of the 2011 Hamilton Structure Plan. And is impacted by an overlay that is the DPO 8. So the proposed alternative development plan seeks to remove one of the two proposed roads running north-south between Beverages Road and E. Gibbons Road, and subsequently adjusting the future lot layouts from within this area. So the proposed alternative plan has been referred to external agencies and also internally to Council's engineering department as part of the subdivision application assessment. Public notice of the proposed development plan has also been given to the surrounding landowners and occupiers with no objections received. The proposed alternate development plan has been assessed against the master plan and I suppose the overall objectives of DPO 8 and is consistent with the objectives of these overarching documents. So councillors, a recommendation has been brought before you for consideration.
A mover. Councillor Campbell.
The council having given public notification of the proposed alternative development plan, resolved to adopt the alternative development plan dated 29th May 2025 under clause 43.042 of the Southern Grampians Planning Scheme and partially supersede the existing approved development plan for land bounded by Keenan's Road, Gibbons Road, Beverages Road and Hensley Park Road as shown on the proposed plan.
Seconder, Councillor Barber. Any questions of Director Neeson? Councillor Campbell, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I just think this is really positive. There's been no objections to it, and what we want to do is we want to see development in this town. We want to see things be hurried up, and I think it's a really good thing.
Any discussion? Just go straight to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Councillor Manning.
Yeah, is it? That was quick. Getting comfy.
Item 12.4, Hamilton Showgrounds Governance and Management. Director Neeson.
Thank you. Through Mr Mayor, I'd like to present this report on the Hamilton Showgrounds Governance and Management. So at a council meeting last year, council resolved to adopt the Hamilton Showgrounds Master Plan with a recommendation that a further report to council on the governance and management of the Hamilton Showgrounds be provided. So staff have now completed further engagement with all of the users of the site and presented a variety of different management options to try and best suit the needs of all of the users there. And we do have some very different users in terms of how they use that site. So following this engagement, it has been agreed by users that the preferred model is the active council management model as detailed in this report, where council takes responsibility and allocates resources to actively manage the site to support the current and future uses, community and then also commercial activation, which we're really keen to see at the site as well. So council, a recommendation has been brought before you for your consideration.
Another mover, Councillor Barber.
Yeah, I'd like to move the recommendation that we dissolve the Hamilton Showgrounds Advisory Committee. Number 2, send a letter of appreciation to all members of the Hamilton Showgrounds Advisory Committee for their participation. Point 3, update the Hamilton Showgrounds Master Plan to remove the reference to the Advisory Committee in the governance image on page 17. Point 4, proceed with the active management model as detailed in this report.
Seconded, Councillor Rainsford. Any questions of Director Nason? Councillor Henry.
Director Neeson, could you just detail for me the rationale behind the proposed fees for 2026-27?
Sorry, thank you, through Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so the fees that have been recommended there have been tried to be, I suppose, more fairly aligned with how the users are actually using their site. Also taking into account the ability for users to be able to actually do subleasing or hiring in of different things, while also making sure everyone's paying a more fair share of actually some of the utilities that when actually we did all the work engaging with clubs, it was very different across different clubs in terms of who was doing what from some historic agreements. So what's actually been put in front is to actually align that so it's a much fairer, even though you will see some different variances reflecting the different ways that those clubs access and use the site.
Thank you.
Councillor Barber.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Great segue, Councillor Henry, into my question. With the fee adjustments, has that been discussed with the clubs that are involved who are going to see an increase in their fees?
Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, my understanding is that they've all been involved the whole way through this engagement. So I know there is some increases there. There is some decreases as well too, but it is to try and put fairness, which is something we have been trying to do rather than just relying on historic agreements of how things have always been done. So short answer is yes.
Councillor Rainsford.
From my memory, I thought that this advisory committee was for a period of term for a couple of years. And when we adopted that motion back in April 2022, there was also a clause added to have a governance report that the officers would provide a governance report. No, that's when we adopted the master plan. We adopted the master plan, we have a governance report. But I thought this was only going for 2 years anyway.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor. So my understanding was just, and I know the team did check with governance, that we still need to actually dissolve the committee, so that's why it's written in the way it is, but then also to obviously thank people through the writing of the letter. I just think they checked when it was set up, which I can't comment before my time here, but it wasn't really clear of whether the 2 years was the end, so that was the advice we got for how to formally dissolve that group and thank them for their work.
Councillor Henry.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just quickly, I'd just like to say it's fantastic to see it's moving forward and acknowledge the work that that Director Neeson and his team have done, because it's such a great facility and there is lots of scope for further use up there, especially with the new shed, etc. So I think adapting a different management model is going to help drive that forward and hopefully get more use out of the showgrounds in the future. So yeah, well done.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, I support the 4 elements of the motion, and as the chair and working with Councillor Fran Malone and Councillor Barber with this project, it was a tough project, and Director Neeson, it was really tough because we had to do a lot of work on the draft master plan, and I think there was a lot of volunteer fatigue over going back through all that again, but we got a good outcome. And I think my only disappointment was that whilst we had support for the development area along Shakespeare Street, and we got our master plan adopted, we didn't get any external funding applications for that new shed. So we really are in a good situation in the future for developing the other projects that are associated with this master plan. There are small projects like a barbecue area. Rotary's particularly interested in that. Well, I shouldn't say that, particularly interest now. Didn't have an interest then. But, and also a major new office space, what's commonly called the Red Shield. So we've got some really good projects there that are going to need some funding, and the impetus is there, and it's a really good master plan. And I would certainly like to thank all the volunteers for contributing. And the good thing is there are so many new faces at Sheepbench and in the setup and the deconstruction days that Brian and I have been going on to for years. It's a wonderful group of people there that are volunteering with that group, and they have really good ways of encouraging new leaders and new participants. So well done, and thanks for participating in this committee. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councillor Barber, anything to close?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.5, detailed design appointment, architect of Hamilton Gallery, Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council, before you tonight is the report that is seeking endorsement to progress the design of the new Hamilton Gallery to stage 2, being detailed design stage, in alignment with the federal government's regional precincts partnership grant and also our associated project milestones that we've agreed to. In September 2024, by way of background, councillors, Angelo Candelipis and Associates was awarded the contract for the concept design following a competitive process that attracted 28 submissions from leading architecture firms across Australia and also internationally. These concept plans were endorsed by Council most recently on the 9th of July 2025. The design process has been a two-step process with a pause point after those concept designs to allow for fundraising at that hold point between the concept planning and moving on to detailed designs. And the idea behind this was to de-risk the civic investment needed to undertake the detailed design stage of the process. However, given that the project design phase is now financially backed by the federal government through the Regional Precinct and Partnership Grant, we can now proceed to appoint an architect to undertake the detailed design stage of this important project. Our concept design process allowed Council to reappoint Angelo Candelipis and Associates if Council deemed that was in the best interests of the project. A closed tender process has been undertaken for the detailed design stage with a submission from Angelo Candelipis and Associates being thoroughly evaluated and assessed. The reason why we just sought one tender in this process is that we had very strong and clear advice from a number of stakeholders with very vast knowledge of these processes, and their advice was, one, given we have very thorough and detailed concept designs that had been worked through a co-design process with our community, that we would be unlikely to get another architecture firm really wanting to pick up someone else's work, certainly a leading architecture firm, and it would most likely lead to considerable rework of those detailed designs for another architect to want to put their stamp on them. That would result in increased costs and potential delays to the project. And our approach is actually extremely common in the sector. Also, we found through that fantastic co-design process that Angelo Candelipis and Associates had developed a very strong relationship with the community through an extensive co-design process, resulting in really valuable and tacit knowledge of what the aspirations of our community were for the new gallery, and the culture, heritage and presence of Hamilton and what we wanted our new gallery to do for our community. Losing this connection, we felt, was a significant risk in compromising everything we'd worked towards through that concept stage process. Following the success of the concept stage and the strong performance of Angelo Candelipis, a fair and certainly thorough procurement pathway was developed in alignment with our own procurement policy, Victorian state government standards and recognised architectural industry practices. In terms of the evaluation process, most importantly, this was rigorous, as I mentioned, and involved a number of independent panel members who brought significant expertise to the process to really support our efforts. And that expertise included 2 independent panel members from the Office of the Victorian Government Architect, and they are the state's largest procurer of architectural services, and their advice was absolutely invaluable. We also engaged an independent probity auditor who overviewed the process and provided us with the report, which really confirms what a really thorough, extensive and fair, if that's the right word, process we undertook. We also engaged an independent quantity surveyor who worked through the cost that was being proposed of the design services, and they provided a report to support the appointment, as well as having 4 council officers. And probably their role was to bring the whole process together, but also apply a lens of what it takes to run a modern art gallery to make sure that the design would be in keeping with what we need to run our gallery as economically as possible, but most importantly to meet community aspirations that have been picked up through that co-design process in terms of spaces for our community, whether that's gathering spaces, wet areas for artists to work in, etc., etc. So following this extensive process and thorough process, and one that our staff, I'm very proud to say, devoted many hours to, we do recommend to Council that Angelo Candelipas and Associates is reappointed to undertake stage 2, which is the detailed design stage of this process. The evaluation report is attached to the Council report, and councillors, I commend the recommendation to you.
Mover. Councillor Henry.
So I'm grinning like a Cheshire cat, of course. I'd like to move that the Council 1 award contract 202546 to Angelino Candelipas and Associates to undertake stage 2 detailed design of the new Hamilton Gallery design process for the tendered lump sum price of $3,355,451 excluding GST. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate and execute contract number 2025046 and any other documents required by or to give effect to the terms of the contract on behalf of Council. 3, approve the allocation of the Venice Alstogen, you correct my pronunciation please, is that it? Right. Donation of $432,612 into a new Hamilton Gallery reserve account, which is to be used for activities that support the development of the new Hamilton Gallery. 4, approve the allocation of $400,000 from the new Hamilton Gallery reserve account towards the development of detailed designs for the new gallery. 5, note that $2,900,000 of the Regional Arts Precinct and Partnership Program grant has been allocated to fund the detailed designs.
Seconder. Councillor Barber. Any questions of the CEO? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Mr. CEO, just that last point probably clarifies that this is the continuation of the RPP funding. And saying that if this all goes ahead with the detailed design, when would we see some sort of funding commitment from, say, the Gallery Foundation, state and federal governments? Because at the moment we just sort of see that there's figures on paper, but would you expect some sort of time frame where we'll see some sort of commitment from the partners that are joining this project for us?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your question, Councillor Barber. It's difficult to be precise about the time frame other than to apply back to the Regional Precinct and Partnership grant program for their Stream 2, which is the construction stream. We're planning to do that hopefully around next May, when we will have some reasonable detailed designs completed for both the gallery and the new community hub, and that's what we'll be going back to the federal government with. The Mayor, the Chair of our foundation, myself and our Gallery Director have got a meeting with both the Minister for Tourism and the Minister for Creative Industries with the state government on the 30th of September, and at that we will be lodging a formal request for funding from the state government. And look, the philanthropic work through our foundation is ongoing. I don't realistically have a time frame on that, but oddly, probably shouldn't say oddly, but I feel very confident about that part of the funding that we will certainly realise what we need through the support that we're getting from our foundation board.
Thank you.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah. My question through the Mayor is to the CEOs about the funding streams. You gave us a report last week in briefing, which would be interesting to actually give an idea to the community and about the level of funding that is now available from the state government in particular. I realise that this is a federal government application, but how are we travelling with the amounts of money that are coming out of the state government?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Thanks for your question, Councillor. It's a really good question. What I reflected with the Council last week is that a number of the grant pools that do come out of the state government, such as our Living Libraries Fund, such as the Sport Direct grants, have contracted in recent years. But they're not the type of funds that we would get this level of funding for. There are dedicated arts funding streams within the state government, and we saw in this year's budget the state government give $25 million to the Bendigo Gallery for their redevelopment, and that's what we would be seeking from the state government, is a budgetary allocation towards this project rather than it being from a specific grant pool.
Councillor Rainsford.
But then we also need 17 million of funding for the Civic Hub, which has to be built before or at the same time as the new Hamilton Gallery. So that's altogether it's almost $50 million, and that doesn't count the cinema.
Yeah, thank you through you, Mr Mayor. That's quite right, Councillor. Through the Regional Precinct Partnership program, and certainly we've had really strong dialogue with the department about this. We can apply for grants of up to 50 million in that project. They've got to be approved, of course, and everything we're planning is subject to being able to get the funding together that we need. But if we don't do these designs, we will never get the funding, because they are a fundamental precursor to applying for any grant, any level of funding that we need through a grant program. So the RPPP program will go and fund towards the hub primarily, if we can successful there, and we're hoping the state government funding will go towards the gallery, is our thinking at this stage. But we will need to be agile, and we'll need to be able to shift as circumstances shift.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, I have a question about the cinema. Can you explain the process from here within these detailed designs about the cinema and what that entails, please?
Through Mr Mayor, thanks Councillor Manning for your question. Yeah, the cinema has been a really good success story, I think, for us recently. It's really important that we look after it well through this process. So we were just talking to Director Neeson and I were talking to our staff today about how the numbers through our cinema over the last 12 months are up, I think, by about 30%, which is fantastic. It's really great that the community can get out and enjoy the facilities we have in that way. We haven't really done a lot of community consultation on the future of the cinema and where it should be. So what we're proposing is that the appointed architect of stage 2 would do reverse brief. So from the community consultation they've undertaken, and they would do more on that, they would come back to council with a proposal about where it should be built. We're asking to consider building it within the Performing Arts Centre complex, and most likely as part of the function room space, which doesn't get a lot of use, that it would give us an opportunity to build an acoustic wall between the theatre and the function space, because at the moment you can't have things going on in both at the same time because of the lack of acoustic wall. So our hope is that it will be there, but we'll ask the architects to investigate that and then come back with a brief to council, for council to approve and probably share with our community as to what they think is the best outcome for the cinema.
Further questions? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, through you, Mr Mayor. Probably more of a clarification rather than a question. Just the carry forward from phase 1 of 55,451. So is that just a saving from phase 1 that we've moved across?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Barber. Through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, it is. So we went to the market because it was such a strong process for the concept design phase, as I said before, with 28 firms tendering for it. I think we got really good value. So we had a budget of about 870,000, and I think the contract with Candelipers was about 480 odd thousand. Don't quote me exactly on those numbers. So it meant that we saved close to $400,000 on that first phase. So we're proposing to carry forward 55,000 of that to support this funding here. So 2.9 of this will come from the Regional Precinct Partnership Grant. There'll be 400,000 will come from philanthropic donation that the gallery has had, and then 55,000 will come as a carry forward from the budget allocation we made to the concept planning stage.
Thank you.
Councillor Manning.
This contract's only for the detailed design phase, not during the construction phase, and there's a second hold point after the detailed design phase to assess funding again. What's the likelihood that we'll need to have the architect on for the construction phase, and do we have a plan of how we're going to fund this if we do need that architect in the construction phase?
Thanks again, Councillor Manning, and through you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, it would be highly unlikely that we won't need the architect. We will need the architect through the design phase. It's probably a simpler way to put it. And hopefully that is just contained to things like, quite often on very big projects, a design might rely on a particular material that when you come to build is not available, and it might need a minor redesign to use a different material. I've been involved in a number of projects before where builders who are very clever have come to us and said, there's actually a way we can save some money in building this, but it will require a bit of a redesign. Job of the architect through the construction phase is very much to work with the builder on those items. Council will have a number of options at that point in time. One would be to appoint a builder who could do the design elements themselves. The other option would be to continue Candelipers on what's called a schedule of rates. So as they're needed, they would charge us an hourly rate to come into the project. They would be funded through the construction of the project. That would all be regarded as part of the construction funding for the project. And it's probably worth just emphasising, Council, that Council is committed that we will through our long-term financial plan, we will contribute 10 million to the construction, and that's it. And so that would be consumed within the construction budget, and it would not affect the commitment that we've made.
Further questions? Councillor Henry, to speak to the motion.
Thank you. This is probably one of the most important milestones that I think I've seen come across our council desks in the last 5 years. And I think it's really historic and an important point to pause and think this is the moment where we actually become eligible for funding, where we actually have shown our commitment so that we can actually ask people like our foundation to raise money for us. And so I think it's a really significant point, and it's the point where the councillors show their faith in this project, faith in the foundation, faith in the vision. I think it's really poignant to note too that this design comes at no cost to ratepayers, which I think is an incredible feat. This very rarely happens, and you know, if you're a believer in fate, you might consider that a very good sign. And I guess I really just wanted to say too that I think it's really important to know that Angelino Candelipis and Associates is an incredible architect that has global experience. He has partnerships with important entities like Melbourne University, like the NGV, and those sharings and that rigour around what he does is a part of those partnerships. He's shown a proven commitment to consulting with our community, and from my conversations with him, he demonstrates a love of, well, not only the site, but our collection, our people, our landscape. This is a project that I believe is extremely well supported in the community. And it's been a project that's been advocated for 15 years, so much longer than my time on council. And I just think, this is built on the backs of lots of other councillors and officers and community members doing this significant work to get us to where we are. So I highly commend it to my fellow councillors.
Councillor Henry, I'll just ask Mr CEO just to pick up on one item.
Sure,
That you-
that's what I said.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor, if you don't mind, I might just correct you.
Well, I don't know if I'm right yet.
I just want, just for the interest of complete clarity for our
Yeah, sure.
community, you made the statement at no cost to council, the 55,000 that's been carried forward is council's funding.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to be
Yeah,
clear. It's
okay.
only a tiny portion of the overall cost,
10 million.
but just want to be absolutely clear
No,
on that.
this is just design.
10 million doesn't.
10 million.
Long-term
building.
financial plan, 10 million.
No, that's only
No, that's
construction.
build.
That's build.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
discussion for Councillor Manning.
We are at a strategic hold point to enable a formal review of funding, risk and performance for the New Hamilton Gallery. On funding for this Phase 2 detailed design has been secured through a combination of, as we've heard, council funding, RPP grants and donations. The total of this contract is 8.02% of the construction cost, which is in the expected range of between 7 and 10% for a complex project like this. I use the word complex because we have learnt that architectural projects are generally categorised as simple, traditional or complex. Unsurprisingly, a building that houses millions and millions of dollars worth of art is a complex building, which requires a high level of technical expertise which comes at a cost. The report notes that following appointment of architects for detailed design, council will transition into formal funding requests in support of construction, as mentioned previously. Talking on risk. There is a risk that using different architects would increase cost and time, as they may want to go back in and change some of the concept designs. There is a risk that the closed tender process could be perceived as less transparent compared to a public tender process. This report details the robust process that was designed to ensure that this closed tender process resulted in an exhaustive testing of the architect's submissions against all evaluation criteria. This process included 2 independent specialised architects, an independent probity auditor and an independent quantity surveyor. There is a risk that funding targets are not met, but in the words of our Mayor, the only thing we can deliver on with absolute certainty is nothing. On performance. Performance of the architects on their concept designs. The concept designs fulfil the guiding principles and broad requirements set out by council, including collection size and display needs. Additionally, considerations in the concept designs were made for staffing numbers, open storage, workshop ideas and integration with the PAC, as well as other things. I note here that the architects are also artists, and art is subjective. Individuals will interpret it differently. The concept designs show an iconic building of which everyone will have an opinion. The architects went over and above in their community co-design consultation, and 75% of the community feedback on the new gallery was positive. The concept designs were endorsed by this council in a democratic vote, demonstrating our satisfaction with the architects' work. On performance of the architects during this tender process. The evaluation panel appointed for this closed tender scored the architects in an overall score of 9 out of 10 across the specified criteria. It was noted that Angelo Candelipis and Associates met all criteria exceptionally, and Candelipus and Associates has a strong portfolio of projects in this field, including both the National Gallery of Australia and the National Gallery of Victoria. I've just got 2 more points. The report of the probity auditor states, we are satisfied that the evaluation process was conducted fairly, consistently and in accordance with the stated evaluation criteria, and the report of the quality surveyor identified areas of clarification required, which the valuation panel then raised with Candelipus and Associates, and they were satisfied that these areas were sufficiently addressed. So I endorse these, and I endorse the process that it's taken place. It seems fair and reasonable, and I have no problems endorsing these. Sorry.
Thanks for the quote. Any discussion against? Councillor Rainsford.
The good thing here is that all councillors support a new Hamilton Gallery, and that should be a really strong message that's put there. To actually have a disagreement with how the process and the priority is not against having a new Hamilton Gallery. So that's really important. And delivering nothing was never an option. It was never an option. Good policy starts with objective assessment of reality. Heard that quote the other day. I think it's really good. Having been on the whole journey and been very involved with the gallery, but understanding we need lots of external funding, and we need the support of philanthropists, and we need the support of our community. And I actually feel a gallery built on spending some time to get the support of the community is actually really important. I think that's incredibly important. We want it not to feel the community, and I know that I can only say positive things because I have to make everything sound positive and supportive of our Southern Grampians Shire Council. But if you were looking for the November 22 decision, which was made in confidential business out at Marine, it's not on our website. You can't even see the summary, which we did actually end up getting, but it's not available on our website. Our archiving only goes back to 23. So we're actually planning to build a new civic hub first, or as part of it. And I'm just really concerned that we're going to bump up against other major needs in this community, like $50 million for the Hamilton-based hospital, part of Western District Health Services, high priorities. And having been a bit involved with watching how much gets attributed to different electorates over the last 20 years, when there's a factor of 100 between Corangamite and Wannon, look, it would be fantastic if we could get all of that money to do the $100 million of work with a civic hub for about 34 million, plus the cost of the cinema and the gallery for 70 million. The reason why the council at that confidential meeting out at Nareen in November 2022, we had some options done that were never made public, and the figures were coming out about 70 million to build something on Lonsdale Street. So I thought, right, go back to the original site and go up, and that was the intent of that decision at the time. So I haven't been able to find that there was actually a change of intent, and I thoroughly support the choice of architect, thoroughly endorse the work that he could do and the work that he showed us, and my position has been that I just feel it's on the wrong site. And it's not just because of my random thought, it's just that I've been involved with those 22 sites that were selected for Denter Quarter and Marshall to look at. And they decided that the best site for the CBD was where you had space with Melville Oval, and that's where we came up, and we managed that process very poorly with King's Bakery debate. But we actually ended up buying the buildings, and I see in the library one, which was the August 13th meeting, a little point came in that the flexibility to adjust the concept design that includes lots 86 and 86A, which are currently privately owned properties operating as takeaway food outlets. So that was included when you're looking at the library, but was never included in discussions that we could do that with this council or since the decision. So my concern is overreach, and we may end up not being able to stalling what we need to do. And we've been told that our very expensive $25, $35 million exhibits and of artefacts and art
That's time,
Work.
Councillor Rainsford.
is under risk of electrical fire.
Thank you, Councillor Rainsford.
Which is why we should be building the
Thank
gallery
you,
sooner,
Councillor
not
Rainsford.
later. Thank you.
Any further discussion for? Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. You won't need the timer.
No,
I promise. But I know to write things down. Now, look, as being someone that's born and bred in Hamilton, lived here most of my life, you see communities ebb and flow, things change, and see our farming community over the past 20, 25, 30 years has had to change their direction to keep up with the changing climate and changing conditions. We used to live off the back of off the sheep's back, I should say. That is, those times aren't around anymore, so sometimes you've got to reinvent yourself. For me, this is an economic value to the community, not only with, and look, I'll be completely honest, I'm not a big art person, and like when I saw figures from Emerging from Darkness and what I brought into town, not only was the figure amazing with the amount of people, but what I spun to is the fact that all of a sudden hotels were full, which employ cleaners, which get work every day, which go to the cafes, who go to the restaurants, who employ young people in their first industry and all that sort of thing. I look at it as a massive economic boost. I was 100% naive as to how much tourism galleries attract. I now have those figures. And I 100% endorse it. I think it's a fantastic design. I think Hamilton hasn't had anything for a long time, and I think it's time for an economic injection into the town and the surrounding district. Bring more tourists, get them out to the other towns, get them out to other attractions, but get them here in the first place. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mr Mayor. 15 years. Helen indicated that this is sort of the discussion's been going on for this, and as we know, the Hamilton Art Gallery can only show a small percentage of their amazing art. The main thing is $5 million from the Partnerships and Precinct program. You don't often get that, as Tony's indicated in the report. It shows a strong endorsement from the federal government, and to me that is fantastic, and it obviously allows, and it has shown that they have faith in us to be able to produce something. By proceeding, this will, as it says in the report, allow council to escalate advocacy efforts to both the state and the federal for the money. And that's what this is all about. At the end of the day, we need to be able to put these plans down and sit at a desk, and whoever the people are that are making these decisions, and say we have dotted the I's, crossed the T's, done all that sort of stuff. And to me, it is vital that we go down that next step to ask the question. Again, like Afton Councillor Barber was saying, I'm not a huge art gallery person, haven't stepped inside the art gallery a heap of times, but that last year with the darkness, it was a great economic boost for the town, and that's the way I look at it, from having people come to this town, spending money in this town, and that's what we really want. So for me, I endorse this. Not everyone always is going to be in favour of these sorts of things, but I think if you don't go and provide the information and actually set ourselves up, we can't ask for the funds, so we might as well go down that path. Thank you.
Councillor Calvato.
Against Mr Mayor. Well, whilst I recognise the importance of culture in our region, I cannot, in good conscience, support this project on the current financial climate. We all know the pressures on our shire, our state, our country, Mr Mayor. Our ratepayers are feeling the weight of rising costs, known as cost of living. As the elected representative, we have a duty to what the ratepayers need before spending money on an art gallery. I've listened carefully to our community. I've heard from residents directly. I've read the many comments on social media. The message is clear. There is a strong concern about the cost of this project, and many do not want their race directed at an art gallery. This is not a vote against the arts, nor against culture. It's a vote for responsibility and for recognising the real struggles our community faces. I believe that millions of dollars earmarked for this gallery could be directed to other pressing needs, whether that be infrastructure, services or projects that can deliver more immediate and widespread projects to our community. Our responsibility is not just to dream, but to balance those dreams against reality. And this moment, with this financial climate, with the voices of our ratepayers so clear, I cannot support this ideal that's presented to me. I'm only representing the voice of our ratepayers, that's what I hear from the ratepayers. In general, at the moment, the community I represent have suggested we work with what we have, Mr Mayor. As a reminder from research that I've currently done at the Art Gallery, it's under Southern Grampians Shire Heritage Overlay, meaning it has a statutory protection under the Victorian planning provisions. We cannot ignore this could be complicated. This could be a complicated issue. This project for an art gallery should be postponed until the cost of living is dealt with, rising costs. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Let there be light. Councillor Henry to close.
Thank you. I'll begin by a few, rebuttals of some comments. I don't believe that this is an either-either situation between us and the hospital. If cost of living and interest rates and drought has taught us anything, that has made it evident that we need alternative streams of revenue, and it's also unrealistic to expect that the funding that this art gallery would receive would be channelled into other projects. Art funding is legacy funding. People that fund arts do not fund hospitals. I'd like to point out that the architect himself endorses this site and thinks that this is the best site for an art gallery to be built. The existing building is not fit for purpose. It is not fit for purpose for an art gallery, nor is it fit to become a library either. Art adds social and cultural value to our town. This is something that our town thoroughly endorse and can be seen in visitations like the 5,000 students that went through the art gallery last holidays. This is an important part, not only economically, but an important part of educating and building our young people. Finally, I'd just like to say, on behalf of my community, that I think this is a project that is incredibly important. It is incredibly well supported, and I think that all the indicators are great in terms of seeking further funding from all sorts of parties, including state and federal government. Thank you.
Go to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? Carried.
Call a division.
So those in favour?
Please do.
Councillor Barber, Councillor Henry, Councillor Campbell, Councillor Manning. Against, Councillor Rainsford and Mayor's for, and Councillor Calvano against. Item 12.6, Community Partnership Grants, Round 1. Mr CEO.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and really always very excited to deliver this report to Council. So, Council, the report provides information regarding community grants applications which cover tourism and events, sustainability, community strengthening, community infrastructure, arts, culture and heritage. And the report details the work the officers have done and the recommendations and approvals that have been granted for the Community Partnership Grants Program for round 1 of this financial year. This program is established to deliver council grants that are responsive to the needs and opportunities of the community, that they're inclusive and equitable, and that they're facilitated the delivery of important initiatives and infrastructure and funding that are really enabling the work of so many individuals and so many community groups around our Shire. The program consolidated council's extensive range of grant opportunities into one program, and since we did that, has really taken off in terms of the importance and prominence of this within our community. I think councillors to date, we must be getting close to about $1.5 million given to community groups over the last 5 years through this program. The current round, Councillor, includes five approved grants for over $3,000, which total $59,972.30, and 36 grants approved for $3,000 and under, which totalled $89,672,000. So with the $300,000, sorry, actually the budget's $350,000 I think this year, we've used under half of the budget in round one, and we will look at picking that up in round two, and certainly big call out to any community groups out there to keep their eye out in January for when these grants reopen again. Councillors, as usual, there is an extraordinary mix of different projects that our community has sought support for, everything from upgrading bowling green lighting, cricket pitch upgrades, to support a number of different festival and events that are really important, not just in terms of community engagement and participation, but many bring visitors in from outside our shire, development of children's play spaces, emergency preparedness and community preparation for that, supporting markets, installation of audio systems within community facilities, repairs to facilities, but also technology to support our community groups. So councillors, I really commend this report to you, and there's a recommendation there before you.
Mover, Councillor Rainsford.
I'll move the recommendation as read.
Seconder, Councillor Manning. Any questions of Mr CEO? Councillor Henry.
Mr. CEO, could you just detail for me, the budget summary categories suggest that there are some categories that are more subscribed to than others. Do we know why the sustainability section is undersubscribed?
Thank you, Councillor. No, I don't know why, but certainly we would take that and use that information going into the next round to make sure we really promote that part of the grant program, and certainly through our socials and through our engagements with community groups really highlight that there are sustainability opportunities here. I know our Acting Director of Infrastructure and Sustainability has been very busy over the last probably 18 months working within our schools, and we will certainly continue to promote this element of the Community Grants Program.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Rainsford, you wish to speak to the motion?
No, look, it's excellent. I think the CEO sort of done all the speaking, so that's okay. It's good.
We'll just move to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.7, carry forwards. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you. Councillors, before you is the carry forwards for 2025-26. The annual budget contains a capital works schedule, and this provides an itemised list of capital works expected to be carried out in a financial year. Each year we have for a number of reasons, we have projects will not proceed due to weather conditions, access to resources, funding and permits as some examples. As a result, Council will have a list of projects which each year which are carried forward into the budget. Council, it's really important to point out the proposed carry forwards for 25-26 to be undertaken to be completed in 24-25 for 25-26 is very low in comparison to prior years, with the net amount being 4.310 million. This shows a real improvement in our delivery of projects over 2024-25. The capital delivery for 24-25 is above the average for the last 5 years by 8.790 million and exceeds the delivery achieved in 23-24 by 4.952 million. So it's an excellent result. Councillors, the amount of capital works the projects to be carried forward for 24-25 is 4.525 with some, I just thought I'd pick out just a couple of examples. The Glen Thompson School, 120,000 is going to be carried forward. I just wanted to make an additional note to that. I know Council's working very hard with the community about some options around the pool. even though that's carried forward for the school, with council endorsement through a future report, that money is sitting there to be able to be moved to other projects if needed. So I just want to make that really clear. We've also got carry forward of 227,000, the Glen Thompson Public's toilets, and our heavy fleet replacement, there's 400,000 there to be carried forward. That's a really classic carry forward item because often we can't actually fill that particular budget item in one budget. We'll procure and order a machine which will take 12 months in some cases to be built, so we have to carry forward the money into the next budget to be able to pay for it. So that's a classic example. Councillors, the impact of carry forwards can be summarised very clearly that we've got 85,000 in operating expenses. We've got 1.332 in operational revenue that's been carried forward. Now that's operational revenue from grants we still haven't received. So for Melville Oval, for the final stages of Melville Oval, is still being acquitted, and Stormworks is the majority of that. And finally, we've got the capital works expenditure of 4.525. Councillors, the recommendation is before you for consideration.
Mover. Councillor Barber.
Mr Mayor, I move the recommendation that council approve the carry forward schedule for the 25-26 financial year comprising of, and I might just ask for a clarification from Director Barber. One, capital carry forwards on the agenda says 4.225, or is it 4.5?
It should be 5.259.
Okay. So I move that capital carry forward be 4.525 million. Two, operating carry forwards of 85,000, and operating revenue carry forwards of 1.332 million. Thank you very much.
Seconder, Councillor Manning. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Rainsford.
Yeah, thanks, Director Barber. What's the earliest that you get these, you close off the books, that you actually know these figures that have been spent from what was budgeted for?
Sorry, Councillor, can I just clarify your question again? So the earliest we close off our books?
So you get to the 30th of June, it's the end of the financial year, and
Yeah.
we haven't done projects, and we haven't. So when do you actually hit the button on the computer and it tells you what's left over? Because
Yeah.
it's now September.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wanted to know what's the earliest you can do it.
It always takes some time because it's not until the end of July that we'll have the understanding of what's been spent on the projects. So then to August, we're working through that, and that's why we briefed in August and we're here in September. So this is pretty normal as far as the timing for carry forwards. Yeah.
Councillor Campbell.
Director Barber, just a question on the heavy fleet replacement. Do we actually have a date when we may, because there's a big truck that we've ticked off the box. Is that a date this year or next year or?
I might take. Ryan, do you know where we are with the?
Truck on, no, I don't know. We'll take that question and nothing, so I'll come back to you at the time.
So we don't have a date?
We'll take that.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Barber, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. No, I'd just like to again commend, as Director Barber said, about the quantity of capital works undertaken by the Shire in the last financial year is pretty incredible. And yeah, just acknowledge the team and the entire Shire staff and the contractors that we use, of course, as well, on bringing those projects to fruition, but also, as commented, that it's exceptionally low to carry this much forward, which I think is great financial management. Thank you.
Discussion for? Against? Councillor Barber, nothing to close?
No.
Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.8, Melville Oval Financial Update. Acting Director Donis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, the report before you summarise is a financial update for the Melville Oval project. Now that we have reached practical completion, it's important to know there are still some works that need to occur for council to retain the occupancy certificate of the facility. In the report has been stated a large overspend. This one has been approved works within the 24-25 budget, but because the works were conducted by the Ultra Bill, that's been classified as a overspend. However, that's been approved within the last year financial budget. Councillor, it's also important to know that the calibre of this type of facility brings an important economic uplift for Hamilton and the Shire. Just a classic example, with the facility hosting the Southwest Grand Final last weekend and about to host the preliminary final of the Hampden League next weekend. Councillor, there is a recommendation before you for your consideration.
The mover, Councillor Calvano.
Well, I'm not going to read it out. As written,
You want me to read it?
Mr Mayor, as written. No. Okay, then I'll read it. They cancel one, note the contract expenditure of the increased value of 225,669.87, exclude GST, of the additional works with approved budgets, largely drawn from the budgets for internal pathway and seeding and the pavilion repairs ledgers as detailed in the report. Point 2, approve the overspend against the current budget of 8,622 excluding GST to be drawn from the 2024-25 capital program. Point 3, approve the remaining non-discretionary variation which are required to effectively complete the project to a value of 15,838 excluding GST drawn from the 24-25 capital program.
That was magnificent.
Yeah, it's a drink. You bring on eat That's what it is written.
I bet you don't do the next one. Have a seconder. Councillor Manning. Any questions of Acting Director Donis? Councillor Manning.
Just a couple. The playground, what's the latest update on the playground? When can we expect that,
Yeah.
please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, we have received initial design for the playground. We are expecting to complete construction before the end of the year.
I have one more question. On page 69 of the agenda, we've got Council's Economic Development Support Officer has performed an analysis of the project construction. These results are as below. When it's got year one, $1 million output, 1.842, and then jobs 5. Are these jobs within the local community from the builder, or it might be whose jobs are they, or council staff?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So what you see here is an output of a program we described to. It's an economic modelling called REM Plan.
Okay.
So what REM Plan does is you put in costs, which is what the Economic Development Support Office has done, and it actually has a formula that sits behind it that explains by how much you spend in construction, how many jobs it actually creates over the period. So you'll see here year 1, lower spend, lower, 2, 3. So it's just to try and give a bit of an understanding of even just off the investment that council's made in the construction, it's actually created this many jobs, this many wages, and I think we can say that they were nearly all locals because they were local contractors as well too. So it's something that's a really good measure that we can use for really big projects in terms of the value it actually brings back to our community during that construction period.
Thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Calvano, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thanks.
Any discussion for?
I'll say.
Councillor Manning.
Yeah, okay. Well done, everyone. Huge project. Great to have detailed reports like this at their completion. Great.
Wow. Councillor Henry.
Usually not
I just think this is a magnificent venue, and I can't imagine a project this big not having, having a lived experience that requires a little bit more tweaking in terms of seating and pathways and a few other things. Of the 3 renovations I've done with my husband, there's always something else. And so I think this is quite reasonable, and what a magnificent facility, and it was so great to see it full and active on the weekend.
Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what a great effort by council and the local contractors to be able to build such a great facility, but it also shows that if we get our ducks in a row, we can get the funding from the federal government. And that's why when we look at other projects, we need to believe in ourselves that we are a great place, Hamilton. And it's an amazing oval, amazing facility. There'll be cricket going on, there'll be footy finals, which have just taken place. Maybe, I'm just looking if there's any cricket clubs that want to move in there. I reckon it would be a positive. And if we can keep having as many grand finals there as possible, that may give the opportunity to the people that are playing for Penshurst, or they're playing for Branksholme and obviously all that sort of stuff. We may be able to use the facilities as well. So, great work.
God bless.
Councillor Rainsford.
Yep. And I think it's a great project, and I believe in Hamilton and the whole area and the region, and that's why I think that when they have grand finals in the future, there'll be a lot of Portland people getting on the train to come up to the football, not be worried about being breathalyzed or dodging the potholes on the way back to Portland, and there'll be people from Ararat coming down to see things in Hamilton. So I reckon it's a great venue, and I think there'll be a lot of people who'd like to jump on the train to go to the football, just like they do in Melbourne. Thank you.
Nothing further, we'll just go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.9, Annual Plan, Council Plan Review, 1 July 2024 to 30 June 2025. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, councillors, the annual report for the period 1 July 24 to the 30th of June 25 has been prepared to provide information regarding the performance of the organisation against the Council Plan 2021 to 25. The annual plan is developed each year to assist in the delivery of the Council Plan objectives and to demonstrate to the community the key projects to be delivered each year as part of the Council Plan. The annual plan sets out specific actions and includes a detailed list of Council's activities and initiatives for the upcoming financial year. These initiatives are projects undertaken over and above the normal service delivery and are intended to attain important outcomes for Council and the community. Reports on the progress of the annual plan are reported to Council quarterly. This allows Council to receive timely, relevant and measurable information about how the organisation is performing. This in turn allows Council the opportunity to raise concerns about performance in a timely manner. The annual plan reporting also helps formulate the annual report and support the reporting against Council Plan each year. Councillors, there were 73 actions in the annual plan for 24-25. Of these 73 actions, 46 of the 73 are completed, which is 63%. 59 or 81% are on track. 9 are, or 12% require monitoring, and 5 are off track. The actions that aren't completed in the final year of the Council Plan have been reviewed. Of the 27 actions not completed, 9 will be rolled over into the 25 to 29 Council Plan. 9 will be completed in the period up to the end of the current Council Plan, and 9 are subject to Council decision making and are in progress. Councillors, I think it's worth reflecting, because this is the last report that we'll be providing on the old Council Plan that was endorsed by the old Council, obviously. So this final report demonstrates just this year and this quarter, but over the period of those 4 years, there's been 178 actions that have been completed over that time. An excellent result when you consider that only 9 actions are going to be rolled over into the next Council Plan. And most of those are legacy projects that we're working on that have to go over into the new plan. So I think it's a terrific effort. Councillors, the recommendation is before you for your consideration.
Mover, Councillor Campbell.
The Council received the annual plan report for 1st of July 2024 to 30th of June 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Henry. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Campbell, you wish to speak to the motion?
All I would like to say is that Council has shown very much strategic intent with these 176 actions that they've run, so I would do say well done.
Any discussion for? Against? We'll just go straight to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 12.10, S11A, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Director Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and through you, we've left the most exciting report to last. Council appoints many powers to staff through the instrument of delegations and authorisation. The S11 instrument of appointment and authorisation appoints council staff to authorised under the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and allows them to fully discharge their duties and responsibilities under the Act. The S11 instrument of appointment and authorisation was last adopted by Council in May 2025. The instrument has been updated to reflect recent staff change and is attached for Council consideration. The Act and the variety of other legislation makes express provision for the appointment of authorised officers to act on behalf of Council, and these powers are essential to enable day-to-day decisions to be made for the effective operation of the organisation. The instrument of appointment authorisations are prepared for Council by Maddox lawyers. The S11 instrument appoints and authorises appoints the officers to be authorised officers for the purpose of the Planning and Environmental Act 1987 and the regulations made under the Act, and authorises the officer to institute proceedings and offences against the Planning and Environmental Act and the regulations made under the Act. These appointments are authorisations must be made by Council and are not delegated to the CEO. Council, a recommendation is before you for your consideration.
The mover, Councillor Rainsford.
As written. Is that okay?
Seconder, Councillor Henry. Any questions of Director Barber? Councillor Rainsford, you wish to speak to the motion? Any discussion? Go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried. Item 13, there's no notices of motion. Item 14, no urgent business. Item 15, Mayor, Councillors and Delegate reports. Councillors, just to remind you, you have the option here. You can either discuss your report, or if you're more than welcome to take up the option to forward it through to governance by noon the following day to be included within the minutes. Councillor Rainsford.
When it comes up there, I'm happy to just talk to it quickly. We all attended the CEO review meeting at Martin Hines with the consultant online. I was the delegate to the Rail Freight Alliance. We had a special meeting to establish a structure for the Rural Rail Freight Alliance finances, and we're currently working through the process of becoming a not-for-profit incorporated association. The process, after long-standing arrangements that a member council would manage the operating funds of the Rail Freight Alliance, we supported becoming incorporated, voted to accept draft rules and delegate the CEO to lodge an application to become an incorporated association, and elected a treasurer. It was just a procedural meeting, that one. On the 31st of August, I attended a really great event out at Cavendish. It was a farmer queue event. It was one of those many supported events that have been around our area, and we do thank the state government and all the different volunteer groups that have helped put these events together. It was amazing. There's a whole range of younger people, lots of families, and whilst we've had a bit of rain, a bit of grass about, it was a really great opportunity, and lots of raffles and lots of prizes for everybody, and a really good time to catch up. And we have to mention that well organised by Wayne Veering and Carly Benke and a whole group of people out there. On the 1st of September, I attended a really good, well-attended Cavendish Townscape meeting. It was held about the lack of water down the Wannon, and they invited Glenelg Hopkins CMA along and Wannon Water, and those representatives gave a really thorough report. And we're very pleased that the CMA have actually made an application to the authority that manages the bulk entitlements and water flows, and it was knocked back, it was voted down, but they've actually prepared a report, and I've encouraged our executive to get a time slot for them to come and present to council. On this Friday, there's a group of us going up to the Grampians Wimmera stakeholder meeting we've booked in, and so we're getting along there to make the case for organisation. The situation is that Rocklands was built in the 50s. They started harvesting the Wannon in the 70s, but they never, and the Glenelg was harvested for Rocklands, but they did an entitlement for a river for environmental flows and stock and domestic down the river. They never did that for the Wannon. There is no Wannon River management plan, so we hope to get that happening. Thank you.
Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I hate to report, but I will say that we had the first CEO advisory group meeting, which was sort of a great, Dr Neeson was there. It was a great meeting. It was being the first one. It was more about, talking to everyone and introducing everyone to each other and sort of forging the path forward as to what the advisory group's going to look like. It was a very productive meeting, and there's another one coming up very soon, so we look forward to that. I went to the opening of the new South West Mental Health Facility, which was fantastic, very well attended. A lot of people in the all in the foyer meeting room area or waiting room area. Great building, and again another hats off moment to those guys for using local contractors with another ultra build being completed using for South West Mental Health, which I think is fantastic. It's a much better fit for purpose facility compared to what they've had. So it's really good to see that we've had two cracking mental health facilities opened in Hamilton in the last, say, I don't know, when Headspace building opened, probably the last 3 months, 4 months. I think it's a long time coming, and it's really good to see. And probably all wondering why I didn't say anything about the showground, the Melville Oval, because I had it written down for this bit just to say how well done and how good it was to go past. I could not believe the amount of people. It was crazy. And every time I went past, I dropped my son at work at 7:30, there was people already at the ground, and I went past again and picked him up, and there was even more people at the ground, and I went past again, and I don't know what I was doing that time, but there was more people at the ground. It was just in the car parks, the cars just kept going further down that way and further down that way, and they were up every street. It was unreal, actually. It was really, really good to see. So well done to everyone involved, and it just shows you what a big project like that means for a community, and the support that came out of the town into our economy was just phenomenal. So no, well done. It was bloody awesome to see, really. It was really good. Thank you.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you. Briefly, the grand final was amazing. I actually had one of those crazy days where it was lovely and diverse. So I went to an art gallery talk by Dr. Alison Inglis and Hugh Goshen on the Paul Sandby collection. And for anyone who doesn't know, we have outside of the royal family, if I'm not mistaken, the biggest Sandby collection in the world. And it's just another string in the bow of the Hamilton Gallery, which is quite incredible. And I realise now, and I got to say this to Hugh Goshen, whose family donated the Sandby collection, that my mother took me to the gallery when I was a very little girl, and I used to go visit this one particular painting, which is of Windsor Forest. And I've been visiting that painting for 50 years. And I just think that's an incredible gift to give to a child. So it was nice to say that to Hugh Goshen and his wife. Grand final at Melville Oval was fantastic. Well done to all the volunteers, because that was a huge effort to feed that many people and to manage that. So, great to see the Bloods win, obviously, but it was really impressive to see the volunteers. And I just wanted to talk about the Rural Council's Victoria Conference. That was actually should have been the previous council report, but we went on so long that we didn't speak. So this particular conference is about rural councils, and it had a focus at one point on housing. And interestingly, that 43% of homeless people are actually fully employed, which I think is quite interesting. And there's more homeless people in rural areas than in cities, which I thought was another surprising statistic. And so I think there's some negotiations and talks and thinking that we need to do as a council body, and how we support our own domestically challenged people in our town.
Councillor Campbell.
Yes, I'll keep it very brief. Actually, I've been pretty busy the last month on the farm, so I haven't actually been out and about too much. But I just want to congratulate David Pepper, the president of the Branksome Football Club, and the committee for what they did last weekend. Over 6,000 people went through Melville Oval. The volunteers from the club to obviously help out in all areas, from food to drinks to everything, was just outstanding. So I want to hats off to them, and to have the vision to say, look, we won't have it in Branksome, we'll bring it here to this great facility, I think was fantastic. Another thing I just want to say to the Branksome Progress Association, great to be able to get 3,000 towards this electric barbecue that we're trying to hook up. Now it will be the rest of the community to pull together to fundraise the other 3,000 for us to be able to put it up. And finally, I don't know if it's been a shout out, and I don't know if I get this right, is it Denise Elstad? Yeah. Donating to the art gallery. I mean, philanthropic money, amazing, and I just say shout out, thank you very much.
Well said.
Cheers.
Councillor Calvano.
I went on the official opening of the Southwest Health Care in Lonsdale Street, the building which cost about $4 million to build, the locals which provided many jobs for local tradies. The building took approximately 12 months to build. Mr. Craig Fraser, CEO, talked about mental health and how Southwest Healthcare has maintained and improved healthcare. This new building is going to be even better. Auntie Claudette opened the new building with the welcome to country and later with a smoking ceremony which was held outside. After the formalities, we all were invited and we shared drinks and nipples. Also attended a meeting with the CEO, our Mayor, Robert Kenner and others to decide the position of our spotlit flag to be erected at the St Fitzpatrick Gardens. After discussion, a position was chosen which we agreed on. Also, a city is supposed to go somewhere in that area, Mr. Mayor. Friday evening, my wife and I went for a look at the new lights at the lake. The brightness and direction of the lights has made it so much safer for those that are walking at night. The lights also showcased our beautiful lake at night. If you haven't yet gone for a look, I recommend that we do, all of us, because really speaking, the lights are a feather in our cap. And to concur with Afton Barber, Councillor Barber, I went past Melville Oval several times, up and down, and I just couldn't get over the crowd. And even at night time, the crowd was still there. Unbelievable at night time. There were still people going in the eateries and McDonald's, and I don't know if King's was still open at the night time. Was it still open? I don't know. It was unbelievable. It really was. It was really great to see that Melbourne, that Hamilton vibrated with life. That's all I can say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Manning.
Yep. On August 14, I attended the Pride Lunch in Warrnambool, which was organised by Southwest Pride, Wellways and the Let's Talk Foundation. We heard from the Ballarat star of RuPaul's Drag Race Down Under, Gabriella Labucci, who delivered a very powerful message that LGBTQIA plus visibility can help the next generation find self-acceptance. And this is particularly important in rural and regional areas. On August 14, I attended an online briefing about treaty in Victoria, and yesterday was a monumentous day for Australia with the Victorian treaty tabled in state parliament. It's the first treaty in this country. We are the only country not to have a treaty with the first people of this country, of this land. In the week of the 1st of September, I met with several members of our First Nations community to discuss recognition of First Nations soldiers who have served. They included Uncle Johnny Lovett, Auntie Claudette Lovett and Uncle Michael Bell. On September 3, I had the pleasure of drawing the winners of the Greater Hamilton Library's Warm Winter Reads competition. Congratulations to those winners. It was a fantastic, very well prescribed program over 3 months. Participants were invited to come in, read a book, enter the raffle, which the library staff put on themselves, and could also leave a book review. So there's a big board up in the library. If you're looking for a book to read, you can go and read some local reviews, which is fantastic. And then on the 8th of September, I attended a library event called Menopause is Not a Use-By Date, where we heard from authors Dr. Rachel Matthews, Trish Bolton, and local author Louise Lene. And I've just recently listened to her audio book called Eden Hope, and she's been shortlisted for, I can't recall the name, but one of the big literary prizes. So congratulations, Louise, and it's a fantastic book I recommend. We talked about the changing representation of older women in fiction and beyond. And I'd like to just finish off by sending my condolences to a much-loved member of the Dunkeld community, Graham Grubb Templeton, who has recently passed away. And I'd like to just read out, he was a great member of the Glen Thompson Dunkeld Football Netball Club for a very long time, and I'd like to just read out the message put out by the club. Grubb gave so much to the Glen Thompson Dunkeld Football Netball Club over many, many years. He was a player, our #1 trainer, the one who quietly cleaned up after the weekend, and the first to arrive on game day to open up the rooms. On Tuesday nights, you'd always find him standing around the fire, watching the footballers train and sharing a laugh or a few stories. A proud Melbourne supporter and a passionate Rams man, Grubb was more than just a volunteer, he was a part of the heart and soul of our club. His loyalty and tireless contributions were recognised with life membership and honour he wore with pride. We are forever grateful for all that he has done for our club and our community. Grubb will be deeply missed and always remembered. Rest easy, mate.
I'll provide my report directly to governance. I'll just mention one, August 29, I attended the Bush Summit in Ballarat, and I'll just say that I didn't realise those big tractors can go so fast, but I think when they get out of the paddock and on the bitumen, they can really fly.
Nor did I think.
Well done.
Especially the big green ones. I won't mention brands, unlike Councillor Calvano mentioning the must be on a sponsorship deal down the road. There's no confidential reports, and I declare the meeting closed at 7:17.